This 1-hour episode is packed with non-stop Elf on the Shelf action. From heartwarming Christmas magic to mischievous elf antics, we're showing you it all. Like, subscribe, and let's spend the next hour uncovering the secrets of these sneaky elves. Now we have a really rare clip of a red-headed elf on the shelf moving. It's rare to see red-headed elves, let alone them moving. In this clip, the elf appears on camera and it looks like it's carrying something in its tiny hands, but then the elf disappears from sight and returns empty-handed. The elf slowly becomes more comfortable being on camera and inspects it closely before starting to use its magic to float around. Now, this kid practically was informing his father that he did not believe in the Elf on the Shelf's existence, and we can't blame him, because these days many people don't believe in magical elves. Anyways, this kid was telling his father that he doesn't believe it, and he has no idea what he was talking about. When he returned to his room, an Elf on the Shelf actually emerged and began flying around, and then the Elf on the Shelf began to perform various additional actions. Now, obviously, it's just flying around the house and flying around his room, but something crazier happens at the end of the clip, so stay tuned for that.
What is it about?
Nighttime is fun for elves on the shelf because they always think that they're alone and won't be caught, and the elf on the shelf in this clip knows how to make use of that time. Unfortunately, there's a hidden camera set up to capture its fun time, so we can say that the elf had failed in some sense, but it also succeeded making the day. We have a clip from a YouTuber who captured this elf on the shelf swinging on the hammock. We guess that Santa doesn't have hammocks at the North Pole, and that's why this elf decided to try its owner's hammock instead. But that's not even the most fascinating part of the clip, because at the very end, the elf just vanishes out of thin air on the hammock.
Thingamajig, I don't even know what that's called, guys. Wait, where'd he go? Dude, he's not in there anymore. Dude! All right,
In this clip, YouTube Meeble Spirella managed to catch their elves on the shelf sneaking various candies and sweets. Elves on the shelf usually wear red clothes, but there are actually clothes that have other colors like green or even black, which is the rarest. Apparently, they have the strongest magical powers, and in this clip, the black elf was caught trying to steal Skittles from the kitchen counter. The family put a bag of Skittles right in front of the camera, hoping the elf would fall for the bait. The elf had problems opening the door, but eventually reached the Skittles and got caught by the person behind the camera. However, the elf just teleported out of his hand and escaped the dangerous situation. In this next clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on tape moving and rolling its eyes. The clip shows the elf sitting on what seemed to be the top of the stairs before it started moving to face another house. Then it fell at the same time. How strange is that? This clip isn't anything new, but a moving elf is still fascinating to watch. Did you notice the elf's movement near the door? According to the video's owner, he was astonished when he saw the clip recorded on a surveillance camera, and then he was super happy about his decision to place it there. This clip shows another example of elves that like to use flying technology instead of magic. These kids were on a mission to catch their elf on the shelf as a part of their Christmas celebration. They were hoping to meet the elf on the Christmas tree and see it with their own eyes, but it had other plans. Stay around, as 2 hours later the elf made a grand descent flying a candy-filled toy airplane, which is nothing surprising considering elves love sweets. This is definitely not your traditional elf on the shelf caught moving on camera clip, but it's a fun one nonetheless. The elf jumps off the hearth to attack its owner, and after this intense fight, the elf emerges as the winner, leaving its owner lying unconscious on the ground. Luckily, the rest of the family returned home in time to help the guy.
Oh, I don't think so. Not today. Oh, what? Where did he go? Oh.
Honey, it's Daddy! Oh no! At least the elf's okay.
In this clip, we have a rare type of elf on the shelf, and at very first it was laying dormant until suddenly it started moving, leaving the frame before returning and making its way towards the camera. The elf gives it a good look before noticing that it's recording, and because the elves are super instructed by Santa not to get caught moving, the elf quickly disappears from sight. If you believe you've seen it all, this clip might convince you that you haven't seen anything when it comes to elves on the shelf caught on camera. This clip shows an elf on the shelf wearing a piece of clothing you'll never believe is possible for an elf to wear, so watch carefully. For this short clip, we have an elf that started moving at night. It peeks its head from behind the couch, but soon after, the family dog notices the elf moving and starts chasing after it. The elf even hides behind the couch, so let's just hope that the dog wants to play with the elf instead of tearing it apart. Elf on the Shelf really loves standing and clinging onto Christmas trees, so it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see how this amazing elf gets his way to the top of the Christmas tree. Trust me, it's truly amazing. In this short clip, the hidden security camera captured the elf on the shelf slowly moving its eyes. The elf perhaps noticed the camera and knew that it was trying to record it moving, and that's why it only moved its eyes. This clip was recorded by a girl who was playing with her elf on the shelf in the pantry when she noticed that another elf, this one wearing black clothes, is trying to squeeze under the doors. As she picks up the elf, she notices that he doesn't have any legs, and then the other two elves can be seen waving to the girl from the other side of the doors. According to the girl, the two elves actually locked her inside the pantry, and she had to wait for hours until her mother came back from work to unlock the doors. Who knew that elves could pull such evil pranks off on their owners?
Okay, you don't look as derpy. You look a little wonky. Your hat's coming off, Evel. But look at, there's this perfectly derpy little guy. He looks happy. And then here's this little sad squished guy who lost his legs in surgery. Oh, hello! Welcome! Yes, we have a derpy. We have some your members. But guess what? They got a new makeover.
In this next clip, the elf on the shelf can be seen trying to quietly move out of the house before getting caught on camera, and it must have been super shocked because what it did next will surprise you, so keep on watching. In this clip, we have an elf that doesn't wait until nightfall to stretch his legs for a bit. His name is Boris, and he seems to be unaware of the fact that he's been set up and is being filmed. After his human friend leaves him sitting on the sofa alone for just a minute to go downstairs, it only takes Boris a moment to seize the opportunity. The little fella gets up and spins around, doing pirouette-like movements, almost as if he's practicing figure skating. For an instant, he disappears from the screen before flying back into view and then dropping down on his face as he hears his friend coming back. Unfortunately, Boris might have been a little too reckless since he was not only caught on camera, but even gives himself away due to the fact that he's in a completely different position than what his human friend left him in before. Now we have a clip of an evil elf on the shelf. A woman asked these two YouTubers for help because she swore that her elf on the shelf had turned evil, so they set up multiple security cameras around her house and waited until the elf started moving. And when it did, it started causing absolute mayhem. It shoves things off the counter, plays with the light switch, and even uses dark magic to teleport into the woman's bedroom, where then it peeks its head out of the wardrobe.
Sure.
Yeah, guys, this elf on the shelf is corrupt. It's in.
Either the elf on the shelf in this video is trying to get down by floating in the air and eventually flying away, or the elf eventually falls. It's hard to tell, but it's a cool clip nonetheless. There is nothing an elf on the shelf cannot do, including moving and pushing things on camera. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught doing various pranks. Let's hope the owners didn't get too mad at it. What seemed to be an innocent clip of grandma unwrapping items turned out to be something straight out of a movie scene. A camera caught an elf trying to walk out of the house before being caught on camera, and well, let's just take a look. This clip was captured by a spy camera, and it shows an elf on the shelf who's trying to escape the house. While it should be happy to be spending time with a company containing other toys and dolls, this elf isn't so and decides to sneak around. This clip shows two elves on the shelf potty training. Well, kinda, because it seems like the second elf has left her mini gifts on the toilet seat and a note, which suggests that the elf isn't as much potty training as pranking her owner. At least elves poop candy, so this entire situation is not as bad as it could have been. Just imagine what could have been an alternate to that.
They're everywhere. Oh my. I have to say your outfit's looking mighty beautiful. Along with your eyeballs. Oh, look. She has a note for us. Hoo, you can't go. Oh, but I really gotta go. I have to go potty. What am I gonna do?
Now we have a clip of a baby elf that was flying with methods that are more traditional instead of using hot air balloons or airplanes. This baby elf was using magic to fly. This elf is also way cuter and even more powerful than the normal elves that we're used to, so the guy that recorded him put a secret camera in his living room to record him throughout the night, and he ended up catching this cute little flying elf around the room back and forth until it reached the table and noticed the secret camera recording him, so the elf got scared and turned it off. This elf noticed that his owners were trying to capture him moving on camera, but instead of sitting still and not moving at all, he decided to wave at the camera, gifting us this wonderful clip. In this clip, we have a really smart elf who noticed that a security camera was recording him at night, so he decided to just pick it up and do a little elf vlog, recording himself walking around the house. This recording was a perfect gift for the family, and the elf must have put in so much effort into it because just think about it, a camera is super heavy for the little elf, so carrying it around the house should have been really difficult.
Oh my goodness, what is that tree doing? What's he doing?
What's he gonna do, girls?
Hmm?
Oh no. Oh.
He's going on the couch. Going. Oh my.
For the elf on the shelf in this clip, nighttime means playtime. In this clip, an elf on the shelf can be seen moving and trying to wake up its sleeping friends. After a long time of disturbance, it eventually falls on its friends and joins the sleeping camp. Elves also need rest. On Christmas Eve of 2013, this elf was caught riding around the house in a tiny car with his Barbie friends. You might not notice anything weird at first, but then it moves a little and walks past the camera only to look at it directly. It jumped down from the counter, opened the door to the pantry, and threw away everything it could reach. There were also a few moments in the video where Barbie drives on her own. And you'll see the elf continuing to drive around his car, causing a mess in the kitchen and having a good time playing with the toys in the house. After the elf had its fun, it returns to the same spot in the kitchen and freezes in the same way with hopes that nothing will suspect it. Now we have a short clip of an elf on the shelf curiously approaching a camera, and it seems like the elf kisses the camera, but then he suddenly flips it over moments before it stops recording. For this short clip, we have an elf who's lying down on its side and shaking. One evening, the owner found their elf this way and it just kept shaking. We don't know whether the elf was ill or just messing with its owner, but it's pretty strange nonetheless.
Now we have a clip that shows an elf who has become pregnant. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen anything like this before. This very well might be the first pregnant elf on the shelf recorded on camera, and luckily the elf starts talking and explaining herself, so let's hear her out.
I've noticed that these elves love teleporting back and forth a lot. This first clip shows elves named Marshmallow and Mocha chilling in the wreath, and then you can see them glittering all around. They were caught at 4 in the morning, and you can see the first teleportation. The owner of the footage claims to have seen 2 elves teleporting back and forth, possibly reporting to Santa. Let's see more of the satisfying teleportation. They caught the elves not only moving and flying, but also talking and laughing with the hamsters. They only could record this event with a high-tech camera because normal cameras usually can't capture the magic of elves, so it's a really rare clip.
Now this elf probably wants to be a YouTube vlogger instead of working for Santa, because this clip is seemingly recorded by the elf himself by carrying a camera that was left next to it. The elf probably understood that his owner wants to capture it moving, so the elf decided to do him a favor and record his entire walk throughout the house.
For this short clip, we have footage of a security camera at a garage. It captured an elf who entered the garage, turned on the lights, and looked straight at the camera. The elf was probably planning to do something more, but it noticed the camera and escaped the scene.
The elf on the shelf in this next clip will rather choose to play hide and seek in the kitchen than stay put in one position, so let's check it out. In this clip, the elf was caught moving its eyes, and it's very rare to see an elf on a shelf moving its eyes, so it's a super special case. The person who took this video hung a candy stick on the elf's little hand. Then they must have looked away or something, because elves don't move at all if someone's looking at them. At that point, you can see the elf moving its eyes, and it's just absolutely nuts, so let's take a look.
This is one of the strangest elves on the shelves caught on camera clips. Rather than the owners of the elves setting up the camera themselves to catch their elves moving, the elves themselves decided to do the honor by filming themselves moving. The elves recorded this clip in the middle of the night when the owners were sleeping.
Now we have a clip of this one kid who decided to capture the elf on the shelf moving inside of his home. This is the first time this child has ever owned an elf on the shelf, so he was super excited and was really hyped to record him moving, so he turned on the camera at midnight and succeeded. The boy captured the elf peeking around the corner to check if the hallway is free to make an escape, and then he used his magical powers for something crazy at the end of the clip, so make sure to keep on watching.
While this is one of the shortest clips on the list, the surprise it packs will give you thrills. Not only did we get to see an elf that decorates, but we also got an elf on the shelf that would go into hiding immediately rather than admire its own work. Now watch the following clip to see the most badass elf you've ever seen. He went to get some Fruit Loops in the morning when the rest of the family was still sleeping, and the boy who caught him just got so annoyed by what the elf did. The elf even grabbed the marshmallows on the table, so he must be really missing the sweets from the North Pole.
This is mine. Why is he using mine?
Now we have this woman who set up a security camera in the living room in front of the Christmas tree, and on top of which you can see the elf on the shelf sitting still. Sometime later, the woman leaves the room, and then the elf comes to life and starts moving, climbing down the Christmas tree and leaving the frame. Perhaps it went on to have a whole nighttime adventure, but we can't say for sure. Now we have a clip of an elf who started moving at midnight, and at first, the elf climbed up the Christmas tree, and that's when it probably noticed the camera recording it, but instead of running away, the elf slowly made its way down the Christmas tree and approached the camera, giving it a long examination. This elf was really curious about the camera and wasn't afraid of it at all.
It doesn't matter how long it takes when an elf on the shelf decides to do something, because they do it eventually. In this clip, a kid sets up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving on camera, and what this camera managed to capture will scare you. It will make you question everything you know about elves on the shelf, so let's check it out.
The elf on the shelf was caught red-handed carrying herself in the kitchen. In this clip, the elf takes her time walking between the dishes, then turns the faucet on and relaxes for a moment. But then she takes to the air and flies right in the front of the camera, and that's when she probably noticed the camera and did what she did at the end. We must admit, this is one of the most confusing elves on the shelf caught on camera clips that we've ever seen, because we still don't know if the elf in this clip was trying to have what seemed to be a salt bath or if they were trying to hide in it. Enjoy the clip and tell us your opinions in the comments.
This dad decided to catch their elf on the shelf just a few days after Thanksgiving because he has tried many times before, but has yet to be able to catch anyone moving. He can only hope that an elf was caught this time. However, because they don't have a chimney, they think that the elf on the shelf will most likely come into their home through the front doors. As a result, he set up cameras and lights right at the entrance, and after a few hours of waiting, the elves finally came through the door just as the dad predicted. This is a perfect elf on the shelf clip, so let's enjoy it together. Our next elf on the shelf caught on camera shows the elf trying to find the right position for it to either sit or rest. The elf is seen moving towards the sink before moving away, and then tries to rest on the counter before changing its mind again, and that must have been why it was spotted on the camera that was recording its every movement. So all of us know that elves are super talented and they can do many different things and also use magic, which makes many things much easier for them than it would be for us humans. However, this elf was captured working at a mini construction site as if he was trying to build something. The elf is even wearing a safety helmet instead of the usual Christmas hat, so we can only wonder what the elf was building.
These two guys failed to catch their elf moving, so they had a genius idea of watching the elf moving next to their elf while recording it with a secret camera. Their plan worked out because their elf started moving and its eyes even changed color at the end of the clip. It's one of the most fascinating elf on the shelf caught moving clips ever, so let's enjoy it together.
We thought at the beginning the elves were like regular humans, but really, it really shows when an actual human's beside them, right?
The Wolf Pharaoh's tall. He's like 6'5".
Yeah, but I mean, Nah, but compared to these guys, look at them. They look like little shrimps. It's like me versus like you or something. Massive.
It looks awesome. Look at the it has like a speed.
Dude, that thing.
In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on camera playing by itself around the house, a classical moving elf on the shelf. This elf was captured taking care of a sweet tooth with his fellow elves and making them cookies. This is a very nice gesture, and it shows how caring and considerate these magical beings are. Would you like to taste a cookie made by an elf? This clip was captured by a man who set up a camera to catch his elf on the shelf floating around his bedroom before it started moving towards his pillows and acting as if it had gone to sleep, and finally moving down the bedside to hide on the floor.
Peeking right at the camera, the elves even start headbutting the camera, and then they heard someone coming to open the doors and made their escape. The elf of this family was constantly teleporting all around their house, so in this clip they decided to trap it inside glass, but as soon as they did, the elf used its magical powers once again and teleported to freedom. The elf appears next to them on the couch, and it's one of the greatest displays of elf magic ever captured on camera.
Wait. It has to be though. What? It's not in there, dude?
According to the rule of elves on the shelf, kids are not allowed to touch them. This rule must have been implemented for the safety of these living elves. Maybe these elves actually go extinct, so it's never a good idea to touch them. This clip was filmed with someone actively present, so we can see the person recording his Playing with Elves hat. This is a really bad idea, but in the end, the person got what he wanted because the elf eventually reacted and blinked. Now we have a clip of an elf on the shelf recording a gameplay video of him playing Minecraft. We didn't know that elves also like playing video games, and no one can really be sure if it's true or whether this elf is one of a kind who likes gaming. Anyways, he's the only one who has recorded gameplay video, so let's check it out.
This clip shows 3 to 4 elves and a Spider-Man toy sitting on an empty strawberry carton, while a super rare black elf is pushing them from behind until the carton starts sliding down the stairs as if it were a sled. It looks super fun, but they end up crashing terribly at the bottom of the staircase. These elves are super naughty because they're supposed to be investigating the children, and they see if they're acting good enough to get the gifts from Santa, but who's looking over the elves? If someone would send this clip to Santa, these elves would definitely get fired, so let's check it out.
Up next, we have a clip of this girl setting up a camera right in front of an elf who's sitting right under the Christmas tree. As soon as the girl leaves the room, the elf uses magic to teleport out of sight, only to reappear right in front of the camera. The elf starts moving and leaves the frame before returning right in front of it shortly after. What a wonderful clip of an elf on the shelf moving.
This clip shows an elf on the shelf trying to escape being captured on camera. You can see the elf just dashing out of frame, and then its owner goes around the house looking for the elf until he finds it sitting in an interesting position, so keep on watching.
Benji, what are you doing?
The home security camera managed to capture something incredible for the elf on the shelf owners. In this clip, the elf on the shelf is captured flying all over the place, so let's check it out. This shows elves on the shelf caught red-handed at the scene of their crime. It's the second day of Thanksgiving, and these elves must have been angry about not getting an invite to eat because they ended up breaking into the family fridge and having a feast. We can learn from this clip that it's better to just invite your elves to Thanksgiving because they might get their piece of dinner one way or another.
This family set up security cameras right in front of their Christmas tree to see if they could capture any of their elves moving. For weeks they waited without capturing anything spectacular until one of the elves started moving on Christmas. This cute elf slowly stands up, leans into the camera, and takes off flying. For this this clip, we have an elf sitting between some toys and it slowly starts moving before getting up and leaving the frame. Seconds later, the elf shoves its head right into the camera from above and finally flips it over. This elf probably wasn't happy about its owner trying to record it moving. Because they heard noises coming from the cereal box the night before, the family set out to find what this elf was up to and trap him before he could get away. In order to catch the elf, they set up a camera the next day. Because of this, the hunch turned out to be right. He was hanging out and eating some sugar cookie cereal. In any case, let's check out the video and see what happened at the end. If you thought your cookies were safe in a cookie jar, then you might want to rethink your belief after watching this clip. So basically, a kid woke up to see their elf on the shelf sitting next to several cookies that has to be taken out of the cookie jar in the kitchen. The elf had even eaten some, as the crumbs indicate. Luckily, the elf left some for the kids to share. This clip features these elves on the shelf sitting harmlessly on the floor, but it's probably one of the creepiest clips of elves on the shelf we've ever seen. It just looked like two elves rocking back and forth, which is already creepy enough, ended on a surprising note, so let's check it out. If you didn't know, you aren't supposed to touch your elves on the shelf, because if touched, they can lose their magic powers. And that's exactly what happened to this elf, and you can see because their eyes are blank. Fortunately, the owner's an elf on the shelf expert, and she made a magic potion out of cinnamon and foam to help her elf regain its magic powers. So let's check it out.
Magical lock. Okay. Oh, whoa, that was quick. Did you see that? It opened up immediately. Whoa! She just moved. I just saw her move. Okay. Let's see. Have my magic gloves on so they will not lose their magical powers. Ah! She is! She's still smiling!
We know that an elf on the shelf can be crazy at times, but in this clip, we have two elves playing with jelly as they pour into a bowl. While one stirs the bowl, the other one continues to add water inside the bowl full of red jellies. These elves on the shelf seem to be pretty playful as they embark on their unhealthy cooking agenda. As one elf places an empty packet on the other elf's head, they seem to be having the time of their life in this kitchen. We can also see how one elf dips the other elf into the red jelly bowl like a French fry being dipped into ketchup. This is just super amazing to see. Elves on the shelf during the festive season is a common theme for decors, but it seems like the elf in this clip is not up for the festive season, nor does it like its position on the Christmas tree. In this clip, an elf on the shelf, or rather on a Christmas tree, was caught on camera moving from the top of the Christmas tree to another position below. Let's take a look. An elf on the shelf played hide and seek with the camera as it moved around what seemed to be like a kitchen. After playing hide and seek with the camera for a while, it had to be forced into permanent hiding when the dog came into the kitchen. We think this elf was afraid of the dog snitching on it. This clip shows an elf on the shelf that's taken its owner's PlayStation 4 and wanted to return it to GameStop. Now, you might think this elf is a thief, but in reality, the kids were misbehaving and the elf wanted to protect them from ending up on the naughty list this year, so he took away their PlayStation to discipline them.
Spider-Man, Leland! And your controllers!
Come on, we gotta take
What? He was almost there, too. He was just right outside the GameStop.
How was he sneaking around?
What was he trying to do? So I think he was trying to return your PS4.
It's said that mysterious things happen in the dark, and this clip shows such examples because a mom who recorded it captured this fascinating moment of her elf on the shelf using magic to fly and teleport all over the place. This is truly amazing. This elf on the shelf got super mad at the kids for making it angry, and it got discovered sitting and flipping one of the kids off. The elf even left a note explaining that it's angry because the kids were behaving badly towards it. And well, while the elf should be setting a good example for the kids to follow, we can't blame it for losing its temper. This guy captured a strange clip of his elf on the shelf teleporting around his house. You can see the elf flying through the air into the frame before landing on the ground, but when its owner points its camera at it, the elf disappears and no one knows where it went next. It's one of the spookiest elf on the shelf clips moving so far, so let's check it out.
Yo, where did it go? It was right here, Mr. Elf.
This girl discovered that one of her elves on the shelf was pregnant, and eventually the elf gave birth to baby twins. One of the babies is even wearing green clothes, and the other wears traditional red elves. We can only wonder why this is the case, and no one even knows how or why these elves got pregnant, but it's an amazing clip, so let's check it out.
Are you allowed to touch elf babies?
I think so.
Oh, so we have a boy and a girl. They both have eyelashes. Everyone has eyelashes.
Is that true?
Even boys have eyelashes.
They do?
Yes. Go look at Dad.
In this fascinating clip, we can see two elves slowly approaching the camera, and you can hear them start giggling as they inspect this device. We don't know why the elves were laughing, but maybe they knew their owners were trying to catch them moving. But whatever the reason, their laugh is really cute. Up next, we have a classical clip of an elf on the shelf moving on camera, but this elf is really playful and it keeps walking out of frame just to walk back in it. It seems like the elf knows that it's on camera and being recorded, so the elf decides to do a little show and have some fun. The elf keeps playing around before disappearing for the final time. What a marvelous clip. These hungry elves are going straight to the kitchen cupboard to get some snacks. Honestly, you'll have to give them credit just for finding where all the good stuff is stored, so you can't even blame them for stealing the food. In this clip, the elves are caught by security cameras taking some sweets, so let's check it out. If there's one thing elves are good at, it's turning a situation around in their favor. When an elf on the shelf was caught moving on camera, it decided to turn the situation around and tease the camera instead. Two elves on the shelf displayed impressive magic when they both decided to use magic to create a Christmas tree in their owner's house, and then the elves joined hands together like lovers facing the Christmas tree. That's probably the most romantic elf on the shelf clip ever, so enjoy it to the fullest. Now we have a clip where you can see a hungry elf walking towards the pantry, opening its doors and starting to steal food. At first, the elf takes some kind of snack bag and probably brings it to its secret hideout, but then the elf returns to steal another chocolate cake mix. While what the elf did isn't nice, it's still a marvelous clip. In this clip, we see an elf literally teleport into the kitchen, which is an interesting choice for elves to make. The elf then begins to do what elves do best, move around and float around while pretending no one was watching. However, when it realized that someone might be watching, it floated directly up into the camera's lens and proceeded to destroy it because elves hate being captured moving on camera. For this clip, we have two elves that were arriving at their owner's house. The elves used a zip line to come to the front of the door, and this entire clip looks like it's taken right from Mission Impossible movies. When the elves got to the front door, they hid from the camera and possibly entered the house through an open window. Now we have a clip of a group of elves sitting in darkness, and we can see the usual red elf, but next to it sits a more rare blue elf and green elves. However, the moving elf is the pink one, who comes from behind the camera and shoves the blue elf before showing its own face to the camera. While all the elves are not moving, the pink one seems to be having tons of fun alone. For this clip, we have an elf who was caught moving, but as soon as the owner entered the room to approach the elf, it jumped and stopped moving until landing. The elf knows it got caught. This girl woke up in the morning to find a note left by her elf, saying that they were going out to hide in the nearby forest, and luckily the note included the GPS coordinates for the owner to find her elves. She started walking to the coordinates and ended up finding not just her elves, but also a plethora of other dolls and toys. Her elves have probably hosted some sort of forest party for all the toys in her closet, and it's just amazing.
Let me get you down from there. Oh no, sorry.
You.
I'm sorry, baby.
Probably has a concussion from that.
We'll take him to the doctor.
Mom, we can't take him.
But how are you gonna touch? You can't touch the elf. How are you gonna get him down? Or take the branch.
It's time for some vitamins, and this elf on the shelf knows the right vitamin to pick from. In this clip, the elf on the shelf is trying its best to move the oranges on the table, and after much struggle, it gave up and decided to nap by resting on one of the oranges instead. A makeshift pillow out of an orange is something we never thought was possible, but this elf proved us wrong. A hidden camera captured an impressive display of magic by an elf, and it's nothing short of awesome. Too bad the elf went into hiding afterwards and we couldn't see more of it.
For the residents of this house, elves on the shelf might not be on the budget for next Christmas, and we can't blame them, and neither will you after watching this clip of their elf on the shelf clearly enjoying throwing tantrums and making his opinions known by trashing his owner's kitchen, opening shelves and fridge to rearrange everything inside, and then proceeding to dump some on the ground. For this short clip, we have an elf who was caught walking on the sleeping dog. This elf likely wanted to play with its furry friend, and in turn, it got caught moving. What a marvelous sighting. Now we have a funny clip of this energetic elf dancing in the living room. After showing off his best dance move, the elf gets on the dog and starts to take a ride to the TV, where the elf gets on the mantelpiece, joins his elf friends on the TV, and starts dancing again. This elf keeps dancing until the TV turns off. What a crazy clip. This clip shows elves that got sick and because of that have turned into candy canes. Luckily, their owners knew exactly what to do and prepared a special potion that cured the elves and brought them back into their usual elf form. This is just amazing to see that a few drops of magic potion can treat the elves, so let's check it out.
Don't worry, Elvis. We are going to turn you back to normal. 1, 2. One little drop. Elvis is back to normal. Yay!
In this short clip, we can hear the chef elf on the shelf talking, and we can also see his friend walking behind his back.
To go, so I'll see you next year, and I can't wait to see how.
This one's really crazy, guys. So this kid thought of pranking his elf on the shelf by pretending to leave the room. Little did the elf on the shelf know that he was under surveillance and his every move was being recorded. Some elves are easier to trick than others, but we should love our elves even if they're not moving. We now have a clip of an elf who was spotted ziplining off the top of the Christmas tree. Not every elf is brave to attempt this kind of crazy trick, but this elf is also friendly because as he's done with this kind of stunt, he slowly approaches the camera and smiles right at it. And we're super fortunate that this family decided to set up a hidden camera because otherwise we would have never seen anything like this. This clip shows footage from a hidden camera which captured an elf on the shelf flying. You can see one elf standing on top of what seemed to be a table and leaning on a glass candle holder, but after a while the elf suddenly sets off for a quick flight and finally comes towards the camera to stare at it. The elf probably noticed that it had recorded everything, and now it wants to turn it off and delete the footage. This clip shows an entire elf family stuck inside a lantern. You can see a grown-up elf with several of its babies, which are wearing many different colors. We don't know how all of them ended up being stuck there, but luckily one of the elves started talking and tells us an entire story, so let's keep watching until the end.
It's kind of hard to explain, but Dark saw this glowing magical light, and he thought we would like to hang out inside of it, but then he put us all inside, and then he closed it and locked it with a big lock, and now we're all trapped inside here, and I was hoping maybe, just maybe, you could use your magic gloves and help save us.
In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught flying on camera. This clip was recorded by a man who set up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving, and after a while, his elf on the shelf flew into the living room and started moving around, but eventually it did something that will surprise you, so keep on watching. These elves must be used to being captured on camera, and they should be aware by now that people know that they can come to life. And back in the day, every elf was captured moving on camera would get fired, but maybe this year Santa has changed the North Pole laws or something like that, because this elf was sitting with his face turned away from the camera when out of nowhere it just turned around and looked straight into it. It's just insane, so let's check it out. Who knew that elves like to dance? Not just dance, but at such a pace as these elves. If you can try moving your legs as quickly as these cute little elves, and you will see how difficult it is. So this dad set up security cameras in his kid's room to capture the elf, and they were checking out the footage, which is just insane, and I can't believe it's real. Do you think this elf on the shelf started moving around the camera, or is this fake? The elf on the shelf doesn't want to be seen moving when people are around, but in this case, it did start moving while on camera. I don't see how you could fake this, but you can see that the elf on the shelf is moving out of the box, jumping out of the box, and roaming all over the room, and it's absolutely spectacular, so let's check it out. This elf on the shelf was sitting still, but as soon as its owner walked past it, the elf started moving. The elf moved a bit and laid down on the side because its owner walked past the shelf again. But as soon as the owner wasn't present, the elf started moving again. This little elf wanted to move so much, but unfortunately for him, his owner was right next to him, so he couldn't risk being seen. The final clip shows an elf who's obviously in a party mood. In the days leading up to Christmas, the smart little guy eventually figured out how to use a laptop and goes to YouTube to listen to some music, and he apparently knew exactly what he was in the mood for before starting his little party, as he starts playing his favorite song and showing off his sick dance moves. Partying with elves would be super fun, and it's a pity that they aren't allowed to move in front of people. This guy is aware that something is going on late at night and that their elf was up to something, so he installed a concealed camera to catch this mischievous elf. Let's take a look at what he's got. Alright, so it enters the room, disappears behind the table, and starts flying across the room. This elf is definitely using elf magic, but following this performance, he goes to the bedroom where the man is sleeping, and well, let's just take a look at what the elf ends up doing. Some elves on the shelf are super funny like this one. It was just chilling on a Christmas tree and looked straight into the camera and raised its hand in a dabbing position. It's just insane. It makes you think whether it's something Santa's teaching the elves or it's just this elf that's seen the kids do it many times and wanted to try it itself. Now we have a clip of this elf on the shelf seemingly sitting still on the kitchen counter. But soon enough, it starts moving its eyes. You can clearly see that the elf is looking around to see if it's alone in the room and whether he can start moving freely. Now, this clip captures elves doing something I didn't think was possible. These elves crafted a makeshift hot air balloon and started flying across the room with two of their babies in the basket. Maybe these elves got tired of working for Santa and wanted to go on a short vacation, or maybe they just got bored with sitting at their owner's house and wanted to have some fun with their babies, or maybe the elves just wanted to impress their owners. We will probably never know, but this clip is a great example of the ingenuity that some of these elves have.
What are you doing on top of their hot air balloon? Whoa, it's so pretty with all the snowflakes. Are you two having a fun time? Boy, what were you two thinking? I cannot believe they're flying on top. Well, if you guys like this video, don't forget to like it down below. And if you'd like to see more crazy things that my elves do, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel, check out things that they do now, things that they do in the future, and things that they used to do.
Elves on the shelf show that they're not selfish creatures, at least shown by the elf in this next clip. The elf on the shelf was captured on camera laying a blanket on the cold floor with the other two dolls in the house, and even for the car toy. Now that's a caring elf. We can only hope that it also takes care of its owners.
This elf played so many pranks on this family, and you're about to be in for an adventure. In the first few seconds of the video, the elf starts things off by sliding down the stairs and onto the fire truck toy. Then it drives to the family's room, and then the lights begin to rapidly turn off and on. But that's not the craziest part. The elf goes on to climb up the tree in the fireplace and hooks the family socks. This elf is just so mischievous, but because of that, we have this great clip to show you, so make sure to stick around to the end. In this clip, we have an elf on the shelf who started moving in the middle of the night, but as soon as it started moving, it noticed the secret camera and escaped from the frame. However, sometime later, it returned and we could see its tiny little legs moving around, until finally the elf gets tired and sits back down in its spot. An elf on the shelf was caught on camera, actually teasing the viewers. The elf in this clip is seen playing hide and seek with the camera. How cute. Now we have a clip where this woman tricked her elf into moving. She told him that she was leaving the room, but little did the elf know that there was a hidden camera right in front of it. As the woman left the room, the elf started moving and jumping off the cabinet, leaving a magical trail behind itself. Now we have a clip recorded by a YouTuber who wanted to capture his elf on the shelf moving. As you can see, the elf on the shelf is sitting right in front of the camera, so you might think that the elf isn't going to move because elves usually don't move when they know that they're being recorded. But the elf eventually starts moving and even leaps straight into the camera. Let's check it out.
Unlike any other, like compared to
scared to try.
So imagine if they lived like 10, 20 years, well, like a lot of marine life lives a lot longer. Imagine they lived like 90 years like turtles. They would have taken over long ago, dude. Would have been over. This is a fact. No. But, you know, they, in the span.
Wait, dude, look. I saw that. Bro, it moved.
In this clip, we can see two elves that were caught sharing a pumpkin. We all know that elves love sweets, but who knew that they also indulge in pumpkins? Now that's news for us. For this clip, we have a super energetic elf who starts moving right in front of the camera. The elf looks straight at the camera and does a little dance of joy before starting to walk back and forth. At the end of the clip, it seems that the elf has left the camera, but its legs return to the frame before finally taking off. The security camera of a home captured something bizarre when the owners were not at home. In this clip, the elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving directly in front of the security camera and then started staring at it. What a sight to see. The owner of the clip wants us to share the video before the government sees it and decides to ban it because officially elves on the shelf are just toys and can't come alive. Anyways, it's just another elf on the shelf moving while the family is sleeping, and we can agree that while this is nothing new, a moving elf is always amazing to watch. So let's see how this one goes. In a twisted turn of events, an elf on the shelf decided to reveal itself and got caught on camera moving, but only on its own terms, moving enough for the camera to capture its movement, but also hiding from the camera too. In this clip, the elf was caught moving its eyes, and it's very rare to see an elf on a shelf moving its eyes, so it's a super special case. The person who took this video hung a candy stick on the elf's little hand. Then they must have looked away or something because elves don't move at all if someone's looking at them. At that point, you can see the elf moving its eyes, and it's just absolutely nuts, so let's take a look. It's very difficult to catch elves moving, but it's even more difficult to capture them talking. But don't worry, for this clip we have an incredible recording of the three elves talking together. They discuss very important matters, so listen carefully.
Don't listen to Charlie and Buddy anymore.
Okay.
If you think elves are not intelligent, then this video will make you reconsider your stance on that, because this particular elf on the shelf displayed elf intelligence by using a grappling hook to climb the table and open the sweet jar from Santa. In this clip, a secret security camera captured an elf sitting on the Christmas tree, but the little friend unexpectedly started moving, making its way down the Christmas tree. When it lands on the ground, the elf starts dancing and hopping around the presents and perhaps evaluating how well the gifts were wrapped. Anyhow, after inspecting the presents, the elf approaches the camera, which is a special camera that can record with night vision. Otherwise, all we could see would just be pitch black. The elf turns its back to the camera, and this wonderful clip comes to an end.
In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught moving by the chimney. What happened was the dad was trying to bring back the magic into the elf. You see, his kid accidentally touched the elf, resulting in it losing its magic. It was a really sad moment, but then the dad knew exactly what to do. A little bit of cinnamon powder will do the elf some good. Cinnamon is a great thing to put on your elf to bring their magic back, and after some time, the elf really did move. Make sure to remember this because it's a great trick to have active elves during Christmas.
This elf noticed that his owners were trying to capture moving on camera, but instead of sitting still and not moving at all, he decided to wave at the camera, gifting us this wonderful clip.
We think one of the things elves don't account for is getting caught on camera while moving, even though they're supposed to not have the ability to move at all. However, as soon as this particular elf noticed the camera, it went into its hiding mode immediately, just to avoid getting captured. This elf is caught on tape for being so mischievous at night. She's wary of being caught at first, only to be caught later as she was captured on camera by flying midair. This happened twice, so keep an eye out for it.
In this clip, we can see the elf on the shelf being recorded by a hidden camera, which captures him starting to move. The elf slowly moves its arms and legs before using its magical powers to briefly stop the camera from recording. Now we can see the elf looking straight at it, and the elf winks and smiles before using its magic once again, this time to disappear. A mom caught two elves on the shelf playing with each other in her wardrobe. The elves were seen facing each other as they kept playing and didn't seem bothered by the mom recording them. For this elf, it's the 10th day it's spending at this family's house, and it was the day when it eventually got spotted moving on video by the dad. Take note of how he successfully captures the elf. First, he places the elf snacks to entice him to enter the room. Nothing appears to be moving at first, but then the elf flies into the room with a marker and greets us with a Merry Christmas. What a lovely elf. And after that, the elf walks away without even touching the elf snacks. It's most likely not as good as the snacks that it gets from Santa at the North Pole.
This clip shows one of the elves driving a super expensive sports car. Obviously, it's a toy car because no elf on the shelf is large enough to drive a normal car, but it's just crazy to think that they know how to drive, and it shows that elves on the shelf have many different talents.
A family chronicled the presence of the elf on the shelf, who usually comes to them and then goes back to the North Pole at the end of the year, hopefully to report good things about them to Santa. It would be a shame if the elf's report made its own owners end up on the naughty list. Up next, we have an elf on the shelf who appears in front of the camera and then quickly turns its back and walks away from it. A second later, the elf approaches the camera again, but this time the elf is rubbing its hands. The little fellow was likely planning something mischievous because it left its side again, only to reappear with its friend. These two elves keep showing up in front of the camera until their owner enters the room, and then one of the elves just barely stops moving in time to avoid getting caught. So this YouTuber was flying his drone around the playground near his house looking to capture some beautiful winter footage, but he got shocked by an elf on the shelf that appeared in frame. Apparently, the elf jumped to the ground and latched onto the drone. You can see his little elf legs wiggling around, but eventually we can see the entire face of this elf. This is an amazing clip showing that elves on the shelf can be captured moving not just inside the house, but also outside, so let's check it out.
Can ever say they saw this, that's for sure. This is crazy. Oh my, okay. That's it. You know what? If he doesn't want to get off the drone, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fly it so fast he'll have no choice but to fall off. Come on, keep going, keep going. Look, he's shaking. He's shaking off. This might be working, actually.
In this clip, we can see an elf happily walking and dancing in the living room. At one point, the elf takes off for a brief flight, but then returns to the ground soon after. Most elves can fly, but it requires a lot of energy, and that's why elves avoid flying all over the place, even if it's really fun. The elf hops around the living room for a while before its owner comes into the room, making the elf go limp.
After watching this clip, we've concluded that there couldn't be any other stranger elf on the shelf caught on camera clips on the internet. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught redecorating the kitchen of its owners, and it's not the kind of decoration you would ever expected to see anywhere. We think we just found the greatest elf prankster ever.
Now we have a rare instance of an angry elf on the shelf who saw the hidden camera and attacked it. The elf punches and even headbutts the camera. The elf probably got angry at its owner for trying to catch it moving because the elves can't allow themselves to be recorded in motion. The elf keeps punching and hitting the camera before flipping it over at the very end of the clip. What a rare sighting of an elf on the shelf moving. Now we have a clip of an elf just strolling around the living room. This girl captured this incredible footage last year on Christmas Eve, and it's a truly magical moment of an elf on the shelf coming to life and walking around the living room.